So what are some of the most potential benefits that we can get from sun exposure? Well, there's lots. And first one we'll talk about here is lowers blood pressure. And the reason is that researchers in the University of Edinburgh found that a compound called nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator, it means that it dilates blood vessels, that gets activated as soon as that sunlight touches the skin. So we get a little bit of a lowering in blood pressure, and then this can actually start to decrease the risk of heart attacks and strokes. And these researchers said that that can far outweigh the risk of getting skin cancer. So very beneficial effect on just lowering blood pressure by getting sun exposure. The next one is improve bone health. I think a lot of us are familiar with that because we know that sunlight is necessary in order for us to make vitamin D, and vitamin D helps us absorb calcium and is essential for bone health. Third one would be improving brain function. I thought this was really fascinating. This researchers in England took 1,700 men and women from England aged 65 years or older, and they found that cognitive function reduced the lower the subject's vitamin D levels were. So the lower the vitamin D, the worse that your cognition was. Next one would be eases mild depression. I think this one's almost straightforward. Most people know that when the sun is out, we generally feel good. Now, we actually get a little bit of a serotonin release when we get sun exposure. So being in the sun makes most people a little bit happier and lifts their mood. It plays a big role in improving quality of sleep. And this is a really interesting one. And I actually think this is a really, really important one because sleep troubles are themselves huge. So many people have troubles with sleep. And what happens is that our circadian rhythm is so tightly bound to light and dark cycles. So when the sun normally rises, we want to be able to get light exposure at that time. We need to get it in our eyes, we need to get it on our skin, because what happens is when we get exposed to light, that shuts down melatonin production. Basically tells us we're not sleeping, we're not supposed to be sleeping, we're supposed to be up and taking in the light. And then when the light goes down, when we hit when we hit nighttime and the light comes down, that's the signal that then says right away we start to produce more melatonin. Melatonin goes up, it starts to make us sleepy, and then it makes it easier for us to go to bed. Now the problem is that if we are missing a lot of daylight and we're sleeping in or we're staying inside and the lights are dim and we're not getting natural light through the windows or any of this sort of stuff, then what happens is if it's darker or we're staying in that state, we could be overproducing melatonin throughout the day. And then when the nighttime comes, we're not getting such a change. And no, we're not able to basically raise our melatonin levels to help us then start to go back to sleep again at night. The next one is lessening Alzheimer's symptoms. This is an interesting study in the Journal of American Medical Association. They found that Alzheimer's patients exposed to bright light had fewer symptoms of depression, nighttime wakefulness, agitation, and lost less function than those exposed to dim daytime lighting. So this research they attributed to the improvements to a more regular circadian rhythm. So much like I was speaking about just earlier for the sleep quality. We know that the sunlight is capable of healing different skin disorders. Sometimes even in clinics, they will have UV therapy where they will actually incorporate that for different conditions. Things like psoriasis and eczema and acne sometimes all can actually do quite well with sunlight. That would be one of the things that you could try on your own just to see if it makes a difference. Now, there are some conditions that aggravate in the sunlight or from the heat from the sun, but that's a slightly different thing. We also know that there can be some benefits in enhancing immune function. Some studies that I was looking at enhanced immune function, enhanced T lymphocyte motility with sun exposure. Sunlight is also associated with positive health outcomes, including reduced incidences of autoimmune diseases and many different cancers.